Today, I have a bit of a personal story to tell you, which will include a lesson at the end. When I was a student, and I did this for as long as I can remember, whenever we took a practice test that is meant to, accompany like a workbook or something like that, I had this really bad habit of checking the answers every time I solved the question, right? I needed to verify before moving on. I needed to verify that I got the right answer. And if I didn't, then I needed to figure out what the answer was before I could move on to the next question. So when I was in, elementary school or like middle school, and perhaps to some point in high school, um I could get by using that methodology, right? I would study doing that, and then it turned out pretty okay. But as soon as I went to college and I was tested for real, there was no way I was going to perform well in that kind of an environment. Why? I had never given myself the opportunity to actually perform under pressure. The last thing I remember prior to college that I actually, remember like struggling really hard to complete was the SATs. And for that, I have no real option, right? Other option, right? I needed to take the SATs, and I needed to do well. Well, that's what I thought in the back, way back in the days. So I just remember it being so difficult and stressful, which is why when I went to college, I didn't do that. I reverted back to my old study habit of not being able to complete the test before actually grading it. Now, I didn't have a really successful college career. Like my grades weren't that great. But anyway, here I am. Fast forward. I'm 38 years old now, and I'm studying French because I want to take a French exam to prove my proficiency in the language, and that will transitively tell people that I am, eligible for working in France because I speak fluent French. So I'm taking private lessons to prepare for it, and the teacher recommended that I take a sample test to actually see where my abilities lie. And I had never taken this test before, and I was also curious because the only French learning that I have is Duolingo. So, how good am I in speaking French? I needed to take this test. And as soon as I took this exam, I felt the old habits coming back. I was taking the listening portion of it. And because I knew where the answer key was, with every question I had, I felt this urge to stop the recording and check. I felt the urge to just stop recording and check the answer. For every single question I answered, I felt that urge. And this is detrimental. Why? Because it will never, if I take tests like that, I'm never gonna get an accurate assessment of where I am, where I actually am. When I look at the test, when I look at the answers and answer questions like that, of course, I know how I'm performing at the level where I want to be. I ideally want to get 100%, right? So it makes, yeah, when I look at the answers and take the exam, I perform at the level I want to be. But what am I today? It's so important to know that because that gives me a better direction of what I need to be working on, what I could improve on. But over the years, I have always prevented that opportunity for myself. Why? Because I couldn't take failure. I couldn't take this feeling of I didn't do well this time. What I didn't keep in mind was that there was always going to be a next time. Yeah, the last SATs in high school before submitting your test scores, it feels like it's so important at the time, but I didn't see that there was a life outside of college. And yeah, the last final exams for college were super stressful, but I didn't realize that there was a life after college. There was a life after working. There was a life after my first job. There was a life after my second job. So, if I really want to improve upon an area in my life, I need to be able to give myself the opportunity to perform as I am today so that I can get an accurate assessment of where I am today. I used to compete in jiu-jitsu, but then again, I couldn't stomach that feeling of this is how I'm performing today. I was afraid to give it my all because I couldn't stomach that feeling of giving my all and then failing anyway. But what I didn't see at the time was I needed to try my best and fail so that I could know what I actually needed to work on. Did I just need to work on the performance of the things that I knew how to do? Or is it a fundamental lack of understanding of a technique or a position? I never gave myself the opportunity to know that. Why? Because I was afraid of failing. This is why fear of failure is such a detrimental pattern for your life. And to overcome it, you have to recognize the infinite value in believing in the next time. Life is such a cliche, but life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Marathons, it may contain periods of sprint, but you have to remember that there is always going to be a next time, and the best thing you can do for the next time is focus on being yourself the way you are today, at this moment.